Well, if you've been shopping recently, chances are you've noticed the increasing prices on grocery store shelves, especially eggs. I'm here chatting with Zoom with Chanel Tewalt. She's the Deputy Director of the ISDA, and we're going to talk about prices and see if we're going to see any relief soon. Chanel, thanks for taking a few minutes with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
The price of eggs increased, and you can tell me how accurate this is. The report I read said it had increased 49% from January to November of last year.
Yeah, we saw a pretty significant jump. So if you look at December to December, I think it was like a 205% increase. Keep in mind, December is a peak time for buying eggs, but it has been a significant increase. I think everyone is feeling it across all regions in the country.
And the cause of the increase, there's several factors. Do you want to talk about some of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are several things at play. High path avian influenza is the thing that we have to talk about first. So this disease has struck the United States in a way that we haven't seen before. So high path has affected the U.S. before. Years ago, it hit, but it never affected so many states. We depopulated a significant number of birds, but it didn't impact as many states. This time around, so starting in 2022, you saw almost every state in the country impacted in some way with a high path avian influenza detection. And what that means is when the detection is made, those birds are culled or depopulated. And so you saw, I mean, millions and millions of birds depopulated across the US. And that affects everything from the price of chicken to the price of eggs and so many other things as well. Avian influenza continues to have an impact this year as well. In the past, there was a seasonality to it, and you saw the disease wane as the summer months and summer months came and things heated up. That has not been the case this time around. And so, unfortunately, I think high path is here to stay for at least the near term, and we will continue to see some impact. But also, if we're talking about the egg prices all of us have been experiencing lately, we have to keep in mind we're coming out of the holiday season. That is the peak time to buy eggs every single year. And we also have a really high export demand. So there's high demand across the board, low supply. This is what we're feeling in terms of the pinch at the grocery store.
We're going to see the avian flu continue for a while because of the widespread impact.
Yeah, unfortunately, there can continue to be detections in states across the country, and we anticipate that being the case. So the vector or the thing that is causing disease transmission are wild birds. And so that is extremely hard to control disease transmission with birds that are going to be on the move constantly.
And then you take those factors, and I'm sure, does inflation play a role in this as well? Or
inflation always plays a role for agriculture, right? Whether we're talking about eggs or dairy production or beef cattle production or any of those things, farmers work under really tight margins under the best of circumstances. So if you start increasing fuel costs, anything like that, fertilizer costs, all the input costs have been increasing, you're definitely going to see an increased pinch on that, what we would call the food dollar. So for every dollar Americans spend on food, there's a certain percentage on average that goes back to the US farmer. Everything else is kind of allocated to transportation, marketing, retail, all those other things. But the amount of a food dollar that ever goes back to the farmer is usually a pretty small amount, even in good years.
are we going to see prices continue to increase for a while then?
I don't know that I could say that. I'm certainly not an economist, and there's folks out there who are going to do a lot better job on making those predictions than I can. But what I would say is we are coming out of the holiday season, so the demand for eggs probably is going to look a little different. Holiday baking and parties and all of those things really drive up demand. It will probably look different. It certainly traditionally has as we get out of the holiday season. But like I said, the disease concerns are still going to be there, and I think we'll see that impact continue to a degree.
Okay, so with the ISDA, is there anything the ISDA is doing to, give some shoppers some relief on that front, or anything like that?
Our role primarily is at the farm level rather than the retail level. And so what we try to do is work with producers, and we don't have the biggest poultry industry in the country. Certainly there are very big poultry states. We're a very big dairy and beef cattle state, but we have poultry producers from the backyard side of things all the way up to commercial production. And we are trying to work with them to really get out the message about biosecurity. So if you are a backyard producer and you just have a few hens that lay eggs for you and it's just a hobby that you love, we want you to increase your biosecurity and make sure you know exactly who and what is coming onto your property, because that disease transmission is always a threat. And certainly that's the case too with commercial production. So that is really our role, is to work with folks at the producer level to try to ensure biosecurity measures are in place. People understand the risk of bringing new poultry into their flock and that sort of thing. And hopefully that translates to a healthy poultry industry here in the state.
Any good news? Any positive news you can give us?
On the poultry side,
yeah,
it's interesting. I think the level of engagement with folks in the, let's say, the backyard chicken community, I think they've really come together, learned from each other, learned what they can do better on their own operations. And there's a real passion within that world for backyard hobbyists. And that's been really interesting. And I also think that as painful as it is, anytime we go through these types of experiences and increase biosecurity and have that extra level of effort into protecting operations, I mean, those are really powerful experiences and can be important lessons in the future.
I guess anything you want to add on this topic?
No, I think the only thing I would say is agriculture is a tough business, and it is always the case. And as I said earlier in the interview, whether we're talking about dairy or beef cattle, or eggs, or all the other things that we love, all the wonderful Idaho foods we get to enjoy, this is a tough industry, but folks are incredibly resilient. They have been through hard times before, so we might see some pain at the grocery store, but I'm sure things will pick up as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chanel, I appreciate your time. Thanks for taking a few minutes to chat.
Perfect. Thanks, Rhett. I appreciate it.